Good morning. It's about 7:30 in the morning in California. Today we begin the conference held by the University of Arizona, but happening in La Jolla in the San Diego area at the Hyatt Regency Hotel. The conference is called Science of Consciousness, and there are at least close to 1,000 people from all over the world: scientists, philosophers, neuroscientists, mathematicians, biologists, philosophers, all discussing the nature of consciousness. So before I go to my workshop, which is today from 9 to 1, in case you want to come, if you're in the San Diego area, the workshop is on the neuroscience of enlightenment. But I thought before I go, what I'd like to do is answer a question that has appeared on discoveringyourcosmicself.com, and the questions are usually in response to discussions that emerge from You Are the Universe, Discovering Your Cosmic Self and Why It Matters. And the book is co-written with Menas Kafatos, who's a quantum physicist and also cosmologist and climate change expert. So don't mind the phone ringing. I'm going to let it ring so that I can finish my podcast with you this morning. So I have, of course, rephrased my answer, but it's in response to this question from MC. Dear authors, I have a question for both of you. I disagree that spirit is perfect because it gives you good when you ask for good and bad when you ask for bad. I think it is very hard, if not impossible, to reach that point where a new right choice can be made, which will bring the result, because once you feed your subconscious with something, especially if you say that this must not change, your subconscious will bring every opportunity for it to not get changed. It will make sure that all circumstances and everything is arranged in such a way that the change is not possible. You will not be able to connect with your higher self again. To change it, your mind will not be able to focus. For example, if a child made a wrong choice in the past and told his higher self that he didn't want to be accepted into an educational program because it would be too hard for him to study, then his parents want him to be accepted into the program, it will not work. Several years later, when it's time to enter the program, now he wants to get accepted. Somehow he won't be able to score well in his previous educational work, even if he wants to, because his subconscious or higher self or God, whatever, will make sure that he cannot make the change. Once a thing is in your subconscious, it has to execute. That is the only job of the subconscious mind. That there has been a lot of research on it, so it's not easy, if not impossible, to change your program in the subconscious. That's the point of my question. That's the dilemma. How does the child free himself in that case? If the spirit was perfect, it wouldn't take him to the wrong choice in the first place. And now that the bad has occurred, there is no way for the person to escape. How would you explain that? It seems like all that is infinite intelligence and infinite stupidity at the same time. Or if we are all there is, we are also infinite intelligence and infinite stupidity at the same time. So how does this perfection play a role there, quote unquote? Okay, so let me try and explain where that misunderstanding may come from. And that's why I called this podcast, I titled this podcast, Consciousness, Mind, both conscious and subconscious or unconscious, brain, body, and the distinction between them. So if you close your eyes right now and imagine a beautiful rose or a sunset or your home, that's a mental activity. And the you that imagines is the one that creates that mental activity, because before I told you to imagine that, there was no mental activity. If you observe a thought, that's mental activity. If you experience an emotion, that's mental activity. But the you is the witnessing awareness in which that mental activity is occurring. Okay, now look at your own body. That's a perceptual experience in consciousness. And it's another form of mental activity. But it's still a perceptual experience. If you look at your body, or if you look at me on your screen, or at the book, or at your own hand, that's a perceptual activity. Look around you, that's a perceptual activity. And that's also happening in your awareness as a perceptual process that we call the objective world. So in a sense, mind, brain, body, and the world are complementarities. Mind is the mental aspect of the activity of consciousness or awareness. Brain, body, and the world are the perceptual aspect of the same activity in consciousness. We call this complementarities. So we can say, based on this simple understanding, that mind and matter, calling the body matter, calling the brain matter, calling physical objects matter, mind and matter are complementary activities of consciousness or awareness. Going back to our fundamental definition of consciousness or awareness, awareness is that in which all experience occurs, mental and perceptual, in which all experience is known, mental and perceptual, and out of which all experience is made, both mental and perceptual. This definition comes from Rupert Spira. The sound you're hearing right now, in addition to the sound of my voice, is a experience in your awareness. It's a modification of your awareness as sound. Okay, so we can say mind and matter are complementary activities of consciousness, which is simple awareness. So then mind, of course, as you implies, MC applies, has two kinds of activities. One is called conscious. You're conscious of the experience. So think of your home, think of a beautiful sunset on the ocean, think of a red rose, think of your best friend. That is a mental activity, but there's some activity in the brain which is a correlate of that mental activity. But the mental activity I asked you to execute right now was a conscious mental activity. But there are many experiences that you have that actually are imprinted on your subconscious mind, and you don't remember maybe those experiences. A child may be abused, a child may be left alone or feel abandoned, a child may be subjected to violence, and maybe even that memory is not there, but that memory is now there in the subconscious mind. So when we see the correlates of the conscious and the subconscious mind in the brain, we actually see those correlates as what we call the voluntary brain. Most of the cortex is voluntary, where we experience emotions consciously. That's our limbic brain. And then where we experience our subconscious mind or our unconscious mind, that's our autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system has two components. The sympathetic nervous system, which activates the fight-flight response or the stress response as a result of a stressful experience, mental experience, both maybe conscious or subconscious. And then the other parts of the brain, including the emotional brain, have these components both consciously experienced emotions and that emotions that are repressed and below the level of the conscious mind or the subconscious mind. So the equivalent correlate of the subconscious or unconscious mind is the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, which can be triggered by conscious experience, but also with what MC calls subconscious imprinting, perhaps in childhood, or perhaps as a result of trauma, or perhaps as a result, not perhaps, as a result of conditioning. All the conditioning that goes back to our parents, to experiences in the womb, to the trauma of our ancestors, at least in the framework that I'm talking about. All of that is subconsciously influencing your brain, your autonomic nervous system right this moment. Okay, so my friend Candice Pert, who first described the molecules of emotion, serotonin, oxytocin, opiates, dopamine, norepinephrine, anandamide, these are the molecules of emotion we know now. She was actually one of the discoverers of the opioid receptor. She used to say that our brain and body are our subconscious mind. Okay, so we can say that the brain, the body, is actually both the subconscious mind and the conscious mind. So if you're smiling right now, if you're feeling joy, then your facial expression will show that, and microcirculation will change. If you're feeling stress, not only your facial expression, but your eye movements, your gestures, your facial expressions, your blood pressure, your platelets, your autonomic nervous system will show that. If we can measure it, it will show that. So whatever subjective experience you're having, that has an objective correlate in brain and body. Brain and body are complementarities of mental activity. But the real you is neither. The real you is that which can witness that mental activity, but also witness the physical body and the physical universe, and it does that by modulating itself into both the mind, brain, body, universe experience. So we can say that the brain is and body and the world is what mental activity looks like, both conscious and subconscious, to a third party. To somebody who's observing the brain correlates on a CAT scan, or you can also observe the correlates of your own experiences on a CAT scan, on an MRI. But your world will also reflect that, which means your personal relationships, your Burku Karalam says, how can I order the book? Amazon, any bookstore, you can get the book anywhere. You can order it online too. Okay, so let me go back. So the brain, body, and universe reflects what is happening in your mind, your conditioned mind, conditioned by so many things, and usually in childhood, even in the womb, as a result of ancestral conditioning, all of that. And therefore we say the world is as you are. Every situation, every circumstance, every event or interpretation of the event is a reflection of the conditioned mind, the mental activity as a result of conditioning, which is both conscious and subconscious or unconscious. But the awareness in which that happens, which is conditioned, once you go beyond the conditioning, is pure mind, pure consciousness, formless being, uncreated, eternal, intangible, formless, infinite, boundless, and eternal. That's the real you that has been conditioned as a body, mind, and this experience. Okay, so whilst what MC says is very important, that if your subconscious mind has been imprinted with fear or anger or guilt or shame or mistrust or any of the experiences that separate you from the web of life, then that will influence not only your facial expressions, your gestures, your moods, your objective correlates both in brain and body, and how you interpret the universe. And it's very difficult to change that subconscious imprinting. But it is possible. It is possible through self-reflection, usual questions: who am I? What do I want? What's my purpose? What am I grateful for? Why do I think this way? Is my thought true? Are my beliefs true? How do I know they are true? What would I be without those particular thoughts? What is the opposite of that? These things have been explored in what is called cognitive therapy and by other people. So the more self-reflection you do on what you have as habitual beliefs, they lose a hold on you. And then if you practice Vipassana meditation, body awareness, breath awareness, awareness of internal space, awareness of mental space, awareness of relationship, that gets better. These beliefs start to kind of lose their hold, and you slowly lose your habitual certainties which were imprinted in your subconscious mind. And then of course there's transcendence. Once you go to the source of thought, and that's where yoga comes in: bhakti yoga, karma yoga, jnana yoga, raj yoga, and I've talked about all these in the past, pranayam. Then slowly all that imprinting starts to loosen its hold. And finally, you come to a stage when you realize that you're not the mind, you're not the body, you're not the universe. You are the awareness in which those experiences are happening. And the awareness of a thought is not a thought. The awareness of the mind is not the mind. It's a modification of awareness, but it's not mind, it's not awareness. The awareness of a thought is not a thought. The awareness of a perception is not a perception. You are the witnessing awareness in which these experiences are happening. The more you are grounded in being or witnessing awareness, and finally the witnessing awareness also falls, and all that's left is the self, and the whole universe is a projection of that self. Atman and Brahman are identical. That's the basic message of you are the universe, discovering your cosmic self and why it matters. So once again, consciousness is a field of infinite possibilities. Its conditioning is the mind, good and bad. And the mind has two components, conscious and subconscious or unconscious. The brain body are the counterparts of the mind, both conscious and subconscious. And so are the situations, circumstances, events that are happening in your life and how you interpret them. They are similarly complementary activities of mental activity, at least the way you are interpreting all that is happening around you. And that's called karma. What MC calls subconscious printing is also karma. And the goal of life is to realize the self that is beyond karma. And then from there to align our intentions with the evolutionary impulse of the cosmos: truth, goodness, beauty, harmony, love, compassion, joy, equanimity, and ultimately just love. Okay? John O'Connor, is this book available on audio format? Yes, it is. You can get it from Amazon or any online bookstore. Joanne Cooper is sending me a smile. All of you are sending me beautiful messages. Alison McLean says, in the void, is there no interpreting, just being? Correct. The deeper you go, the higher you fly. That was a phrase from the Beatles. So the higher you fly means you go beyond conditioning. Audible, is it available on Audible? Yes, the book is available. Okay, so Julia says, hi Julia. Lupina, Lance says, break it down more. Somebody else asked, what's the book name? I've said it many times. You are the universe, discovering your cosmic self and why it matters. So I can go deeper, and I will. That's the purpose of these daily podcasts. And I will keep expanding this consciousness and awareness between us every day. And I thank you for your support, and I thank you for being here. Thank you for all your beautiful messages, the hearts that you're sending, and the likes that you're sending, and the love that you're sending, and I'll send you all of that back. Okay, Karen Mason, thank you. Thank you, Karen. Julia, excited to get this book on Audible. Thank you. Teresa, my day is made. Somebody said my vagus nerve stimulator is helping me. That's right. You see, the vagus nerve is the physical objective correlate of being relaxed, flexible, going with the flow. Okay. Somebody said, Deepak, severe anger is killing me. It doesn't have to. Observe your anger. Be the witness of yourself. Observe your reaction to react. Put the pause button. And even if you have to express your anger, then punch a pillow. Okay? And express it and move on. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you for all the love, the light. And Mitika Fowler says, when do we see you in London? Hopefully this year. You know, I come to England every year, and right now my heart is going out for all those who had anguish with the recent violence. But we'll move through this. Rhoda Auerbach, mind is matter. Actually, in the deeper domain, there's no mind, no matter, no body, no universe. There's just you modulating yourself as those experiences and giving human constructs and names to those experiences. But that's another discussion. Okay, thank you. God bless. Bye-bye.